How
How are
are
you
you
today?
today?
I'm doing fantastic. Good to be here. Just
Good.
another day. I
I,
doing what we got to do.
I
Yep.
get it. Well,
hmm
welcome to the Mama Vegas show. Thank you for coming on today
No, I
and being
like
a
that
part
name.
of.
That's a nice name to have, Mama Vega. I like that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome you in today. A guest
Mm-hmm.
that wears many hats, from
hmm
being a motivational strategist to an executive coach, Coach
hmm
D. Darrell
hmm
Andrews, how are you? For our listeners, what would you prefer to go by? Coach D, I'm sure
Yeah.
that's your signature name, Coach D.
Well,
Um,
yeah. That's that. Coach D is fine. I created that brand many years ago because I consider myself the person that provides strategy as well as motivation, and a good coach gives you both. So I said, if
yes,
I'm going to brand myself, I want to brand myself around something that causes people to win.
I
So
know that's right.
that's
Yeah.
why I'm Coach D.
That is
Yep.
pretty awesome. So
hmm
I'm excited for us to dive into some self
mm
care,
Yep.
overcoming
mm
challenges, and
hmm
prioritizing our well being in our everyday fast paced life. I
Yes.
know that you can give us some great tips on how to do that. So let's jump
Yep.
right in. And can you tell us
Yes.
what inspired you to start this work?
Well, the thing is, I always tell people I think I'm one of the most blessed people on the planet. I for the last 20 years, I've had the chance to, interact with millions of people when you think about speeches and everything else combined. Um, and just the chance to inspire people and personally inspire people in organizations, corporations, schools, school districts, you name it. And I just started to notice probably, well, the pandemic really tipped it, but probably it's been a little longer than that, over the last 7, 8 years, that the dynamics of how things flow in the lives of people in our country was changing. It seemed
Yeah.
like people were more stressed, people were full of anxiety, depression rates were going through the roof. And since I'd already been kind of in that lane of inspiring people, I said, let's start doing some research around self-care and wellness, because I think people are this way because they're not really taking good care of themselves. I think that they're so consumed with others and what others think and what they should do for others, that I don't take no time for myself. And I think that the reaction to that is frustration, anger, depression, a variety of different things. So that was kind of my motivation. I just, kind of sensed it. I would walk in places and people seemed so despondent, like something was
Yeah.
wrong. And so, and that has not changed. I still see it. But we can do to inspire people around it. And so far, we've been very successful at
Yeah. And
it.
how has the pandemic shaped your approach since
Yeah.
reaching people? How has that shaped, how you strategize to individuals to take ownership of,
hmm
themselves and self-care
Yeah.
post-pandemic?
Well, let's look at the pandemic, and what it did to this. I say the psyche of our, and I could use the United States, but even if they don't say worldwide, but the psyche of the nation. I mean, it just changed everything. We changed as a nation because of the
Yeah.
pandemic. We became a different people. Um, and so I think the mindset shift a lot during the pandemic towards a little bit more towards isolation. Again, the depression rates is what it is. I mean, it's been increasing for years. The pandemic just put it in hyper speed. Like right now we have a 20% clinically diagnosed depression rate in our country, and then a 35% with millennials. And so
Yeah.
that's like one out of, if you walk down the street and see five people, one of them are depressed. It's just that's a lot of people. So, it's just the pandemic just kind of redefined, or I should say, acknowledge more than ever the need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like I said, with so many people going through so much challenges, we see it in the workforce. Folks don't even want to go to work now. Like they rather just like,
Yeah.
companies are struggling trying to find good people. Like, you know, and I saw this one sign, a little bit funny. And he said, on the sign said, if you're willing to work, I'm going to hire you.
Yeah.
That's all the sign said. Because the person was so desperate to find people, he said, anybody, just show up, fill out
Just come on
application.
in.
You good. I don't care who you are. So people who say they can't find a job, that's crazy. You can find a job now because people are looking. They're looking. They really are looking. Um, so the reality is this: that the world around us has changed, has shifted, and And so the pandemic just made us realize that we need to take our time and and pause and take the time to really empower people. And a lot of that is virtual
Yeah,
nowadays more than live. So we gotta find ways because we become a virtual people as well. So yeah. So
I agree.
times have really changed. Yeah.
Can you discuss the relationship between self-care and overcoming depression?
That's a really good question. And the when you look at depression and depression rates, like I said, they've skyrocketed. And and so when you look at the average person, dealing with issues, in their lives, you start realizing that a lot of the depression that we experience, okay, is a direct byproduct of the fact that we're not emphasizing enough time for ourselves. We're not thinking about, putting energy into who we are, things like
Yeah,
that. And so what happens is the cumulative effect of work and dealing with people and negativity in society and social media, it starts to accumulate. But I'm not balancing it. There's no balance. It's just that's the weight, that's the factor, that's the dominant aspect of what we're dealing with. And so you think about it, that just has a compounded effect on us psychologically, physically, mentally, but we don't have an outlet. So when we
yeah,
talk about self-care, one thing we say is self-care is a precursor to wellness. It's like self-care is the foundational building block that causes people to be well. Because
yeah,
when you have a sense of man, my life counts. I'm doing things that are meaningful to me. I have people in my life that care about me. I get to do some of the things I love to do, things like that. Then it's just like taking your car to the gas station and putting a hose in it and filling up that tank.
yeah,
So what got is a lot of people who have empty tanks but still trying to give out. And that's a recipe for disaster. It's a
yeah.
recipe.
You're riding on
It's a recipe.
fumes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're running on fumes. And some people run on fumes for long periods of time. I mean, some people run on
yeah,
fumes literally for years. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Just running on fumes. But they don't know it because nobody's taking the time to tell them right now you're running on fumes. And as a result, the way you're responding to situations, the way you treat people, the way you interact, the way things are going at work is a byproduct of an empty tank you know.
yeah,
And so you find that people that fill their tanks up are a little bit more jovial. They can handle things a little bit better.
yeah,
People you're going to have to deal with mess all the time because that's just night life, but their response to it is different. So we look
yes,
at self-care nowadays, 7, 8 years ago, self-care was a good conversation. Today it's an imperative. We really take it seriously.
yeah. I agree. In today's
Mhm.
busy world, how can an individual prioritize themselves amidst, the numerous
Mhm.
responsibilities without feeling guilty or overwhelmed?
Well, I'm gonna ask you a pretty interesting question. I just would love to hear your response to it. I'm going to answer the question, but
Yes,
I'm going to just put this in a case scenario because this is what I do in my training classes. All right, and
yes.
so
Okay.
when I would do training around self-care, I'll ask the question: if you had one of those wonderful friends, like a phenomenal friend that went out and loved you so much they bought you a Lamborghini, they purchased you a Maserati, one of those cars. And
Yes.
they pulled up to your home lot and said, "Listen," the parking lot said, "Here, I love you so much. Here's this car for you." That I asked them the question, "How would you treat it? How would you treat that car?" And it's funny because you have an audience of people, and I have them in groups where they're working together and they
Yeah.
talk about it. And so we always have fun with that. So some of the people will say, "I'll sell it because I don't need a car that expensive."
I was gonna say I don't need that.
Yeah, I don't need that. They give it to I'm gonna give it some money to people, and these different things. And then people say all kinds of stuff. And then the crew I'm looking for in the audience is the ones like me. I said I will get that thing on the highway. Those are my people. Like in the audience when they respond, I said, "Y'all my peeps. Don't focus up on selling it. What they talking about?"
I wouldn't
I
know
said,
what to do with it. It would just sit pretty.
and then I'll say to them, like, what if you came outside the restaurant and somebody was sitting on it? What would be your
Yeah.
response? Would you take it to a cheap gas station and put gas in it? Like, would you put a
Right.
cheap amount of gas in a, and so, they
No, you're
know,
gonna take care of it well. Yeah.
they're going to take care of that thing. So
Yeah.
when we're talking about prioritizing, we know how to prioritize. We know, listen, this is important. It's an important statement. We know how to prioritize things we value.
Yes, that's
So
true.
if I'm saying I don't have the time, I don't, the question becomes, do you value yourself? Because you'll make the time for that car.
Yeah.
You'll make the time to take those clothes to the cleaners that you're not gonna take all your clothes to the dry cleaners, but that nice stuff that you don't want to get damaged, you're taking that to the dry
You
cleaners. You
take
know,
it.
you
You want
gonna
it handled
find
with care.
you gonna
Yeah.
handle it with care. Don't let a button be popped on that thing. Then you're like, wait a minute, hold up, I put this in. There wasn't a button. You better buy me a new shirt. You know,
Right.
so so people take the time to prioritize what's valuable to them. And what we're saying is that see yourself as valuable as that car. You know,
Yeah.
I when I put my slides up, I have the car, but then I'll ask the question. The next question I'll ask is, what about $1 billion body? What about $1 billion mind? Like this is
Yeah.
this thing we have here is more valuable than all that stuff. But yet
Yeah.
we will put major time into taking care of those things. So what I'm trying to say is I don't want people to feel guilty because they're like, well, I hear what he's saying, but I still look at my schedule and things like that. What I'm saying is we're big on, we're not trying to say change your entire world overnight. Just do it one step at a time. You
Yeah.
know, take one category of self-care and run with that category the best that you can. Don't even go to the second category. Because just like anything else, if you do too much of anything, you're not going to do any of it. So you get to the point where you just like, this ain't working, you know, and all that. No, no,
Yeah.
you do it one small step at a time because there's various categories of self-care we talk about. If it's wrong for us to even say, you know, go do all these things at one time. You
Yeah.
know, there's a term I use called the plateau of latent potential. And that term is really defines um, the process of the potential that of achieving something when you look at it over time, doing it over time. And you know,
Yeah.
so a lot of times we don't reach potential because we quit in the middle of it. So if we do something a little bit at a time, then we reach the fullest potential. And so that's what we're talking about with self-care. But if you just take rest and say, okay, instead of going to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to bed at 1. You know what
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean?
It's
That's
baby steps.
progress.
Right.
That's progress. You know what I
It's
mean? You know,
baby steps.
Coach, I haven't worked out 30 years. Okay, walk down the stairs and walk back up. You just started. There you go. I'm going to walk down my stairs and walk back up. Tomorrow I'm going to walk a block. I'm going to go back home. Next day I'm going to walk 2 blocks. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is that what we deal a lot with is the mindset
Yeah.
because we understand all of this is mindset driven. It's not, you know, I can't, I won't, whatever. Our minds tell us that all these things are impossible, so we accept that. And
Yeah.
so, but like I said, if it's something even people we care about, we'll put a priority with them and say, you know,
Yeah.
I'll make sure so and so is taken care of. Make sure. Then you look up like, dog, I've done everything for all of them. What about me?
What about me?
What
I'm
about
empty.
me? I'm
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah.
Y'all just siphoning off this. You're like the folk to go in the, you know, the people they say they're siphoning gas out. They go in there
With
siphoning.
the straw.
You got a straw siphoning a little bit. You got look. I'm like,
They taking it
I
all.
ain't got no gas. I'm empty. And you said, no, you got a little bit in there. Hold on a second.
Right. Right. Right.
People taking everything they can get away from you. So you know, and so you can't let that happen. And we all been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it. You know, you just got to understand that you count so much that you got to take time. Or you know what happens? You start having medical issues, start having stress. You know, I think a lot of diseases, and when you look at the research, it proves it, are connected to folks just not taking that time. I'll say this
Yeah.
and I'll be done with this piece. You know, they found that people who've gone into hospitals who have a positive frame of mind, who have, you know, a upbeat feel about possibilities, enjoy life, enjoy themselves. And when you have illnesses like cancer, they have a better chance of surviving than folks who don't. You know what I mean? People who are, you know, somewhat pessimistic or, you know, so it's just like we got to understand that, you know, this is all mindset stuff. It's our minds just begging us do the right thing. Really, just do the right thing and work with me so that we can have the best life possible. And self-care is a critical part of that.
Absolutely. What are
Mhm.
some of the misconceptions or barriers people face when it comes to practicing self-care, and how do you address them in your sessions?
Yeah. Well, you know, there's that one statement everybody always says, you know it like everybody else. Self-care is selfish. You know, the self-care is selfish. You selfish. That's so selfish. You know, what do you mean
Yeah.
self-care? That's arrogant. And when people say that to me, it's automatically I understand they don't understand what it is. Like they
Yeah.
think, well, we're see again because folks have narrowed it down to smoothies and yoga classes. That's what they think. That's
Yes.
their whole
Yes.
idea of self-care. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go get my nails done. Yeah, that's neat. But you do that all the time anyway. It's not like,
Yeah.
I mean, people won't do that anyway. It's like, I don't want ugly nails. I want my feet to be soft or whatever. So I'm gonna get my pedicure. But what we're talking about is a mindset. This is a really important statement. A mindset, right? That
Yeah.
leads to me filling my tank often
Okay.
so that I can operate on a day-to-day basis and have fuel to be able to give out in my life to others. Like, so I have fuel, fuel to operate on, to be able
Yeah.
to do so. So what I'm saying is we're not talking about people can choose what they want to do with self-care. Like I said, for some people it's going to the mountains, other people it's going to the beach. I'm a beach person. I tell folks all the time, this is a quick deviation from our conversation. When I retire, I'm gonna go to the beach. I'm gonna grow me a beard, some dreadlocks, and I'm gonna sell some rum punch on the beach. You come a good 15 years now, you see this old dude with dreads selling rum punch. That's Coach D. You heard him on this interview. Okay.
Yes.
That's me. Because I love the beach. I am a
Yeah.
beach lover. I moved to Florida. I live in Florida now. One of the motivations is the beach. I just love going to the ocean, watching the waves. And
Yeah.
some people can't stand stuff like that. Some people love cabins. Some people like community. Some people like communities. Some people like I mean, people like all kinds of things. It's okay what you like. We ain't being judgmental here. But whatever it is
Right.
that you like, whatever it is that can really, like, my son likes to walk through nature, and he has a little
Yeah.
walking stick. He has a walking stick. He's 26. I said, "You the oldest 26-year-old I've ever seen. You walk around here like you're 90. You got a little stick. You just walking through." But you can't tell that boy nothing. He loves that. We go on trips as a family. We looking at stuff you can buy in stores. He's looking at there's a walking stick in there.
Yes.
We were just in Jamaica, family. He said, "Well, that's a nice walking stick." I said, "Boy, where you gonna pack that thing? You can't take that on no plane." You
He'll put
know,
it with his
but
collection.
you can put it with his collection. And when that boy comes out that park, he the new man. You can see his smile on his face, but you know what? That's his self-care.
Yeah.
That's his thing. So I'm not, you notice I've not said anything about categories because there are, but I'm telling you, people know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta take the time to find those things that's gonna make us healthy inside by caring about ourselves enough to make self-care a priority. Because if not, then we can spend a good percentage of our lives in a place that we don't want to be, and we don't have to be there. We don't have to be frustrated. We don't have to be anxiety, ulcers, and all these things that come in life. Just learn to breathe. I mean, like, all of us go through stressful situations in life. We just don't have to live there. I'm dealing with one right now, but I'm not going to live here. You know what I mean?
Right.
I do what I got to do and I move on.
Yeah.
But we just got to understand that self-care is a vital part of all of this.
I like that. Don't make yourself a permanent resident in
No.
that now,
Mm,
you
mm-mm.
know?
Yeah. Mm-mm. No, don't make it a permanent residency. Just,
Yeah.
say no. Just say, you know what, this is it. We all go through situations that it seems almost sometimes hopeless. Like, things happen,
Yeah.
and I don't. There's many human beings. People think if they have all the money in the world. No, I know multimillionaires with problems. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
if you think you got money, you have problems, please. I know this one guy that's worth hundreds. He made hundreds of millions of dollars, but had no relationship with his kids. You know what I mean? And so he got all his money, but the kids don't even talk to him. And he would exchange every dollar for. So people people don't realize we all have challenges. You
Yeah.
know, but the reality is, it doesn't matter if you're worth 100 million or if you're worth $1.50, $2.25, $3, $4, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
If you can do self-care, you know, if self-care, it's gonna make your life a whole lot better.
Yes. As an author and speaker, what key messages or takeaways do you foster and hope that the listeners will gain from our discussion today? What are you hoping that people will take away and say, Coach D said do it, or Coach D, he hit
Mhm.
that nail on the head,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think the big thing I would want people, and this is just about for anything in life, and I try to live it with my own life, get a why for this. Why am I why should I do this? Because, for instance, like when we go into a company or organization and we're doing self-care training or coaching, it could be perceived as the company is bringing somebody in to do this.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to do it. But then we typically change mindset once we get in there. Once they understand, it doesn't matter if the company brought us in or not. This is going to benefit you here and it's going to benefit you outside of here. So your why becomes, like for instance, I work out a lot. I go to the gym. I'm always training. I got a pretty good diet. Probably about 80% vegetables, vegan type diet. If I want a piece of, I would tell you, I don't claim to be a vegan. I was, but I said no, because if I want a piece of fish or something like that, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
But I just won't get it all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if I want to, yeah. I don't like, I try to stay away from steaks and all that because I don't like to do the red meat stuff too much. But the point I'm making is, so the thing we want people to walk away with, why do I need to do this? Now, this is where other people can come in play. If I'm a parent, I want to be healthy for my children. You know what I mean? I want to be healthy for my spouse. If I'm married, one of my good friends, I remember at her retirement party, her niece was in tears and crying. And the thing she was crying about was how well her aunt took care of herself. She said, I'm so grateful that she thought about us enough to take care of herself. Now that she's retired, she still got energy. We're going to still enjoy her. You know what I mean? And so she looked at that as a gift. And so when you do this, if anybody can just hear me and hear my heart with this, it's a gift to other people. It's a gift. Because when you are at your best, you can be at your best for others. But if your tank is empty, you can't give anybody anything from an empty tank. And I feel so bad. I think there's millions of people out there operating from empty tanks. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can see it in their response to things. Their responses are short. They're harsh. They don't insensitive. Everything, because you know what? They're empty. So I can say something to hurt you, because really I'm the problem. I'm having issues with myself. So I can say something to you because I'm dealing with so much stuff. It don't even matter if I hurt you because I'm hurting as well. And so
I don't even realize it. Yeah.
I don't even realize the fact that I'm hurting. Nor do I really care. So the point I'm making is that that comes from empty people.
Yeah.
But when my tank is full, I can be reflective and think, this is, you can, like, I've had mentors in my life. I love the way they handle things. You know what I mean? They just, like, one of my friends and fellow consultants, Pierre Campbell, says this wonderful quote about responses. He said, my response is my responsibility. And that's just a simple statement, but it's so profound. And so we start realizing, so the big thing I want folks to watch is why. Get a why. Because you know what happens when you get a why? How is simple. What is simple? I'm going to do something. You know what I mean? I'm going to do something because I got a reason why I'm going to that gym. I got a reason why I'm watching that diet. I got a reason why I go to that beach so I can unwind and decompress. I got these whys that are dominating. And so I can wake up the next day. I'll be honest with you. I don't know where I would be right now in life if I didn't do things to get, my mindset right. No, I'd probably be an absolute mess. But I'm always fighting through self-care and other things, allowing myself to tip to the other side and go into this mode where it's like some people go months where they're just off in left field because they are not there anymore. They've allowed situations, circumstances to take them way off course. Yeah. And I hope today that's not going to be the case when people hear this show. One step at a time, a reason why, and put some action in place, because today we need to do self-care. We really do.
Right. Yes, we absolutely need to. We need to zero back in on us, as you say. We need to zero back, and it's not selfish. It's not selfish. It's not. And it's not, we have to, like you said, if we don't give to us, how can we give to anyone else?
I'm gonna give to, that's like, going to the bank and putting your ATM and you try to get withdrawal, but you got 25 cents in it. The ATM gonna say, well, no, there ain't nothing up in here.
Yeah, make it make sense. Yeah.
Can't get no withdrawal. Can I get $1? No, you only got 25 cents in here. And I'm sorry, that's it. And we don't release 25 cents. It's just not how we flow. So that's this. And these scenarios, these little analogies are just, people can relate to that. You know what I mean? Like I talk about with the empty car. What happens when you try to start an empty car? It just makes a bunch of noise. It chugs. And we've all seen it. I've been there before. Drive my car, forgot that I need gas, and and it stops. I remember one time I was on the highway. I just totally forgot. And I just totally forgot to put gas in my car, and I was like, and it pulled over. What's wrong with this car? I was ready to call AAA. I said, what in the world is wrong with this car? And And I did. And one of the people said, "Did you look at your gas meter?"
You're like, oh no.
Well, no, because I know. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. You're right." On the gas in my car. And so guess what happened? It stalled. And so
Yeah,
guess what happens in our life when we don't have gas in our tank? We stall.
we stall.
And we like that car sputtering. We like, so I hope that makes sense to people.
Yeah,
You have to have that why, and then, and realize that when I do this, I'm doing it for the betterment of
yeah,
myself and those I love.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you share any upcoming projects or books or events that our audience should look forward to?
Well, we have the self-care movement. That should be released. I keep pushing the date out, but my hope is that it's released sometime in February. That's the hope. And I'm writing that book because, again, it's a mindset-based book, and I want people to develop the mindset of self-care. We like Dr. Carol Dweck's book on mindset, where she talks about growth mindset and fixed mindset. And what we say to folks, a lot of times we don't do things because we have a fixed mindset. And so we want to get people to have growth mindsets about self-care, and we want to create communities around it. And as far as upcoming type activities, it's really more of offers. And if you go to the website, coachdspeaks.com, and go to our self-care page, you'll see, we do coaching. We do programs for organizations. We set up systems, all of that. And we're saying to your listener base that we'd be willing to do a 15, 20-minute gratis, kind of a brainstorm to see, if you as an individual would like to get on a more effective self-care plan, and then also as an organization, how you can create healthier cultures within your organization. So just go to coachdspeaks.com. I do say this without reservation. There's another person that's hijacked my brand. I'm not that person. He's doing the politics stuff, going after Republicans, and I get more hate mail than you can imagine. I'm like, I
Oh
am
my
not.
goodness.
I'm like, that you coming to me, that I ain't the one. That's the dude.
I'm not him.
I'm like, why is he even using? Why do you have to be Coach D Speaks? Why? So that's the thing nowadays. People can do it. On so line, they can do whatever you want. You don't
Yeah.
vet things to see. But anyway, that we can do that with them. And then one last little thing too. You may have some small business and entrepreneurs out there. I don't know, but we've been doing this thing called bossforyourbiz.com. If you can remember bossforyourbiz.com, because I've been a business owner for 20 years, and we've learned a lot of best practices over the years. And what we've found is a lot of people, when they first start in business, they don't realize that you were successful on your job because you had a boss. You had somebody that told you that this has to get done and that has to get done, and here's some deadlines. You have quotas. And then you open up a business and like, well, I'm going to go to the mall. I'm going to go here. I'm going to do this and that. And like, nah, you better stay on them goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Stay disciplined. Yeah.
you better stay disciplined. So we coach people around being disciplined, accountability systems, group coaching at bossforyourbiz.com. And I love that kind of work because I'm a big fan of entrepreneurism, but I realized, especially the first 0 to 5 years, you need a lot of help,
Yeah.
to build it up. You need a lot of help. It's not easy those first 5 years. So.
I've
Yep.
learned that starting a business, it's a lot of doubt in that first year. You play a lot of games with your own mind in that first year.
Whew. Boy, I tell
Yeah.
you something, it's just no joke.
Yeah.
And so you got to know how to put systems in place, and be extremely disciplined. So we're coaching a group of folks. So those are the two things that we have out there. And then also I always tell people, follow us on Instagram at Darrell Coach D Andrews, and then big thing is hit us up on LinkedIn. We do a lot on LinkedIn. Darrell Coach D Andrews on LinkedIn. So those are the different ways to get in touch.
Awesome. Coach D, before we get out of here, I really want to extend a heartfelt gratitude for having you on here and sharing your wisdom, your experience, and your passion on empowering others. It's such a selfless act to want to give to other people, and not everyone is willing to do that. Not everyone is given that opportunity or can be blessed to be a vessel to do that. And so those chosen people that are vessels to do that, like yourself, it's so much gratitude because someone may be at the end or on that ledge, and it's someone like you who can bring them back, but you can give them a hug of embrace and say, you're not alone. And not only are you not alone, I'm going to walk this walk with you. I'm going to walk this journey with you, coach you, I'm going to inspire you through it. Do you have a lasting message that you want to leave with our listeners from Coach D?
Well, you just kind of nailed it. Just the willing to give. No, we talk about self-care, but it's a beautiful thing to want to care for folks. It's nothing, that's a great, and it is a gift. I always tell folks my faith drives me in everything I do. My faith in God, and I just feel like it's just part of my life's mission. But then also, I met some wonderful people who showed me it in person. Like I met Les Brown, who's a well-known speaker trainer for many years. And I was moved by his generosity. I thought, here's a guy that's all over the world, but he can take time to call up when I was just getting started, a brand new upstart to give me several real good conversations just because he wanted to give them to me. And you start realizing,
Yeah.
man, if a person of that magnitude can take the time to talk to little old me, who am I not to talk to folk? Who am I not to give of myself? And um, so as we're saying self-care, it is okay to, just care about folks and take the time to let folks know, like you said, you love them and care about them. But I just also would say this, in closing, that your life counts. Don't ever let any circumstance get you to the point where you don't see the importance of who you are. And I'm saying that because we're dealing with a lot of depression today. And
Yeah.
so if you need help, get it. If you feel down, tell people. And I'm gonna say this because this young generation seems to be real good at this. Don't keep everything in. You don't
Yeah.
have to project an image of perfection. It's okay to have faults. It's okay. And,
Yeah.
and ask for help when you need it, because if not, that's where the depression kicks in.
Yeah.
You're holding all this stuff in, and in reality, you're hurting yourself. So
Yeah.
we don't want to see that happen. We want some flourishing, prosperous, successful, caring young folks, next generation, not depressed, full of anxiety. We're not looking for that. We want people to be able to live life in a much better manner than that. So
Yeah.
that's all I
We want
kind
them
of.
to know that those
Hmm.
scars and those triumphs and things they go through
Hmm.
become the best jewels, and they wear
Yeah.
that jewelry the best. Yeah.
Absolutely,
They wear
absolutely.
that
So,
jewelry the
and
best.
listen, and kudos to you for this show. I love your name. I love the
Thank
title,
you.
and
Thank
keep
you.
up keep up the good work. And we got to get you on my show as well. I have the Motive Action podcast with Coach D. I want to get you on there because I
Absolutely.
like having these wonderful conversations. I've had several in the last week and a half, and they've been good conversations. And I'm glad we have a subject that people are interested in. This is a need today. So I'm
Yes.
glad we're able
Thank
to
you.
help them. So thank you for your good work.
Thank you, Coach D. And again,
Mm,
to all of
mm.
my listeners, I encourage you to connect with Coach D, to reach out for those resources, for that coaching,
Hmm.
take back control and empowering of yourself and your life. And remember that self-care is not selfish care, it's
That's right.
self-care.
That's
Um,
right. Hmm.
and again, thank you for
Hmm.
coming on. And to all
Hmm.
our listeners, until next time, continue to live with passion and purpose.
I love it.
Thank you.